Alrighty, boys and girls, here we go with Module 6, Lesson 5 homework. Today you will see that I have already done the shading for us to help save some time. So up at the top, we were supposed to find the equivalent fraction using some multiplication or division. So here you can see they started with tenths, and then all of a sudden we're into hundredths. And I hope that you realize that 10 times 10 will give you the 100, 4 times 10 will give you 40. This would also be 0.4 or 4 tenths equaling 40 hundredths. Okay. Over here we have 60 because there's 60 little hundredths, and we're converting them to our tenths. So this time we're dividing by 10, and 60 divided by 10 is going to be 6. So we're looking at 60 hundredths equaling 6. Whoops, sorry. I was thinking in terms of decimals, 6 tenths. All right, so hopefully that made some sense and you did your shading. Down here at number 2, we're supposed to complete our number sentence and then shade the equivalent amount. So right here, 36 hundredths, we're going to break it into our tenths and hundredths. So we look, our tenths is going to be right here. We've got 3 tenths. Our hundredths, 6 of them. In decimal form, it's going to look like this. In fraction form, it's going to be 36 and our fraction bar with 100 underneath. You'll notice when I shaded 3 nice long bars to represent the tenths. And I started at the bottom and I counted up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to represent the hundredths. It is totally fine if you started at the top and counted down the other way. What's important is that you left 4 totally blank. Down here on part B, 82 hundredths, again, we're splitting it into tenths and hundredths. So we've got 8 in the tenths place, 2 in the hundredths. Decimal form, it will look like that. Fraction form, we're dealing with 82 over 100. And you'll notice on this one I colored in or shaded in 8 of our bars, and then I counted from the top this time because I wanted you to see that it doesn't matter where you start counting. What matters is you have the right amount shaded. Down here, they were asking us to circle hundredths to compose as many tenths as we can, and then complete the number sentence, representing each with a number bond. So they did the number bond for us, and they've even grouped, hopefully you can see here, that's a group of 10 right there. And so we're really dealing with, there's 14 total, that's really 1/10, and 4 in the hundredth spot. Again, if we break it up, we're looking at that's the tenth, that's the hundredth. I wish they would draw these little lines so that they, match up with the correct number there. So as I turn the page, looking at the top, it's a very similar problem. Again, they wanted you to recognize that we can group these groups of 10. Okay, so 10 groups, back to our little place value. We move things in groups of 10s. So we've got 10, 20, 1, 2, 23, 24 hundredths total. In that, we have 2 groups of tenths, and we have 4 hundredths left over. If we do this as a decimal, 24 hundredths, and again realizing that that is our 2 tenths, that is our 4 hundredths. So I'm hopeful that this is all making really good sense for you guys. At the bottom, I went ahead and drew the place value discs so you didn't have to watch me draw them. You know how much I love drawing discs. You know I'm joking. So for 1/100ths, that 4 needs to be in that hundredth spot, not the tenths, but in the hundredth spot. So if we're dealing with hundreds, you better have 2 decimal places. Okay, so we're dealing with 4 hundredths, and there, oh, look at me. I made a mistake, boys and girls. So I'm glad I'm double checking this with you. This needs to have another 0 in there. Let me get my eraser. Shame on me. I was rushing a little bit. And this is what happens when we rush. We make mistakes. This should have a hundredth in it. So 0.01. This one should be 0.01. And this one should be 0.01. That's a 0 right there. And that's a 1 next to it. okay? Because they are in the hundredths place. Oh my goodness, cannot believe I did that. All right, here we go. Our next one. 13 hundredths is going to look like that. There's 1/10, there's 3 hundredths, so we should have our 1/10 and 1, 2, 3 hundredths. Down here, we are looking at 41 over 100. We're saying this as 41 hundredths. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 that are in this hundredth spot, and we have the one little, I'm sorry, in the 10th spot, and the 1 for the little hundredth spot. Over here, you could say that this is 90 over 100. The other thing that you could have said is that this was 9/10. I would accept either one of these. Right here, they wanted you to write it as 9/10. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9/10. Over here, they want you to have 6/10, 3 hundredths. So 6 in the tenths place, 3 in the hundredths place. That's going to be 63 out of 100. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to represent the tenths, and the 1, 2, 3 to represent the hundredths. And finally, this last problem, they wanted 90 hundredths, which is written like that. That would need to be 90 over 100. Again, yes, this is the same as 9/10. So keeping in mind that these things are all equivalent. And basically, it's the same as the problem right above. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sitting in the tenths place, and I don't have anything in the hundredths. If you really wanted to draw 90 little tiny circles with 0.01 for 1/100th in each of them, by all means, have fun with that. But it's a lot easier if we group things. So there we go. That was lesson 5.